So let's start talking about these protests, which obviously we've become aware of in the last week or so. But to your knowledge, when did they start?
Uh, so if I have like a minute to give the background of this protest, I think I can make it in a good way. This protest is not something that started off in like 10 days ago or something like that. It's a frequence of protest for the generation that they don't know why they should be economically isolated, politically isolated, internationally isolated, communication isolated. They don't know why this revolution happened, basically. They don't know why we chanting this to a handful of countries every single morning before we go into the class. You might never heard it, but before you enter any class in the school, you should say these things, and
Mhm.
then you can go.
And specifically,
So
what is this? Would you
yeah,
say, for example, death to
yeah,
the United States or
yeah, that's to America, that's to Israel, that's to UK, and now it's happening more and more. I'm not sure how many more countries now added to the list, but
so the government
but they're
requires
coming
that?
out.
The government requires you to say that.
Exactly. Yes.
Got it.
Yeah, you are in a line in the schoolyard. You're in a line, and they ask you to say that everyone, like a military, and then you go into the class. So this new generation, maybe our generation, we were not aware of our rights, but this new generation is coming with the social media. They see the normal life of people all around the world. So they asking themselves why we should do that. Until when? For what? For what specific reason we should live like that? So they protest for the right of dress code. Why we should have a dress code in the country? So 3 years ago, why we should have this kind of government that they cannot manage the energy when you are on the biggest source of energy in the even in the Middle East, but we cannot manage the gas, the propane, the electricity, the water, nothing. So the government cannot manage that. They cannot go to Europe. They cannot travel. They cannot live as a normal person. And nowadays they cannot even work their families. So they work for two shifts, and they cannot have like a food for family or accommodation for family. So there is no prosperity for them. They are in the street. Like it was like 2008, and then 2010, 2012, 2018, 2021, 2023, and now 2025. So the frequency is more being more aggressive now. And also unfortunately the death toll, because the government learned the lesson. The government learned the lesson. If you remember, in 2008, they learned the lesson by blocking the social media, the Twitter, the YouTube, everything is blocked ever since. It's something that I think is worth to mention. YouTube, Twitter is even now they are blocked from 2008. Ever since 2008, they don't
Interesting.
access it. So now they learned a new lesson. They blockade the country, blackout, no internet, even no electricity, no communication. So they can do whatever they want in cold blood, and then there is no accountability for anything that they do. They say we cannot verify. It's a common phrase now in the Iranian government, I would say regime, because they say we cannot verify. If you say there are 100 people died in the protest, they say we cannot verify. So this is the way that they lost their legitimacy, if ever since, if they had before.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if they had, but now, as long as I'm concerned, they already lost anything that they had.
Mhm. So I'm assuming you have not been in contact with any family.
No, since Wednesday, nothing. No, no, not even a text. I'm okay. Nothing.
Yeah. What does that feel like for you?
It's distressful. Yeah, it's we had this discussion during the war, if you remember, in June, and now we have the same discussion. And this is one of the questions that people ask themselves: why we should? What's the matter with Israel? Why we should go into the war with Israel? Now, what's the matter with the economy? Why we should have this issue? And when you don't have a government that you elected, when you have someone that you never elected. You born, he was the ruler. You probably die, he is the ruler. So this is there is no way other than being in the street, protest, and they learn it. They try to shoot people. If they shoot back or if they cover themselves, they say this is you see this is a riot, so we should kill them.
Mm.
And there is no way.
How with the blackout and blockade, how have you been able to get any information? Where are you getting your information from?
Uh, I shouldn't I shouldn't reveal that, but I have a friend that they living close by in the border of Iran and Armenia.
Mm.
An Armenian friend during the time that I was living in Armenia. So there are always some ways that you can get the internet from both sides of the border. So I have friends in Iran, I have friends in Armenia. They made something. They cannot send me like videos or something, but some text is coming out. I didn't receive from my families that they are living in either in Kurdistan or in Tehran, but from some of my friends, they updated me that now the government is like cooler now because they already healed. What who been in the streets. So they're acting to back to the normal. They are trying to give the people the sense that life is back to the normal. Yeah, I can get some information, but this is not something verifiable.
Mm. Do you feel like we've passed this sort of surge of the protests, that it's going to be quelled for a period of time and then maybe come up again in another year? Or do you feel like this is something a little bit different?
To me, uh, now we passed the river. So there are people that they are other side of the river. So this is on us if we help them to stay there and we join them, or we let them die other side of the room.
Mm. By on us, do you mean on the United States?
I don't say that someone in the United States should risk their life. I know that this is a big liability to ask that another countries and other troops to risk their life to liberate a country. But now we are talking about occupation liberation. This regime now occupied the war in the street is the liberation. So if there are some help, if there is some help, it's always good. But there are also in other ways, like blockading the money, the funds that coming to Iran. If they don't have money, basically they don't have lots of friends.
Mm.
They fund terrorists. They fund Hezbollah. They fund Hashd or some other guys that they made up every single day. So they don't have money. Basically, they don't have lots of friends. So even if we can just block the money, block the oil, these also could be a really helpful tool.
Mm. I know the Trump administration has made efforts in that area, reinstating sanctions that were earlier pulled back. Some threats against China and others for Iranian oil. But what do you think about President Trump's rhetoric related to what's happened, where he basically said, help is on the way, and then he said, oh, well, I'm not going to act at this moment because there's not mass hangings taking place. What did you think about that sort of shift in how he was addressing the issues?
To be honest, I think President Trump has more information than me. So the conclusion that he can get is definitely is more reliable than me. but it is not giving me the best emotional sense. So I'm emotionally not happy with this. But if he, with the large intelligence community of the United States, they know this is not the moment, or this is the best conclusion for the government, because anyway we are talking about the American interest. We are not talking about Iranian interest. Any act of the US president is on American interest. So if they find out that this is not in American interest, this is not something that should be pushed.
Mm. Poya, what do you want the message to be to your either your neighbors here in Massachusetts, the wider United States? What do you want them to take away from what they're watching happening in Iran right now?
So there are, like, let's make it like that. There are 80 million hostages somewhere that we know they are hostages. So if we cannot help them go there, help them, let them free, let's be their voices at least. Let's talk about them. Let's increase the awareness of why they are in the street. Like I had few sentences for you, like, because I heard it from my colleagues here that they are that it was a debate for me. So I will finish with that sentences. But like increasing the awareness about Iran, about the Iranian people, about the differences, about their ideas. This is really helpful. This is really helpful.
I can't thank you enough. Is there anything else that we haven't touched on that you want to tell me?
Yes, there are few things that I heard. I told earlier, right? I heard from my colleagues that I wanted to share it in your media. I
Please
think
do.
this will answer lots of questions. One, uh, there are a lot of people asking Sir Pahlavi, if you heard about him. He is the crown prince of Iran and is here in state. So basically, if people asking him, they are not asking a kingdom of Iran. They are asking him as a transitional leader of Iran.
Mm.
He helped people to gather around an idea of freedom, liberation, an idea that people now in Iran and here chanting the name. It doesn't mean that we are coming back to the king era. Because a lot of American friends ask me, so why you are coming from a democratic government to a tyranny? But first of all, we are not in a government with any shape and form we can call it democratic.
Mm.
And if people marching his name or chanting his name, they are just benchmark a time in the Iranian history that the rule of law, some sort of democracy, were
Mm.
there. And he is also like a leader of transition for us. This is
And to be
one
clear,
important
for
part.
just in case we put this whole interview
Yeah,
online, you're referring to Raza Pahlavi, right? Who
correct,
descendant of the sh last Shah, who
correct,
he's exiled in the United States, and he's been sort of advocating a lot in on behalf of protesters in Iran right now, and in
correct,
recent history.
correct. You're Yeah, I intentionally didn't mention Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi because I want to reiterate on this case that we are not thinking about coming back in the history to the like a kingdomship. We are
Mm.
talking about a, a leader for this transition, because lots of people ask about the like a vacuum of power. If the Iranian government like toppled, the vacuum of power, they are talking about Syria, they are talking about Libya without Gaddafi, they are talking about these things. We don't have this issue. There
Mm.
is some leaders that people can count.
Okay, so that's one burning question is what would happen if the regime actually was toppled? What else is on your mind?
I'm thinking about the if this revolution. I shouldn't think about it because I'm pretty sure that this revolution will be success. will end in success. But let's say, God forbidden, if something happened, I'm thinking about the tomorrow of the normal days when the people are in the queue for execution.
Mm,
This is something that we should acknowledge because this regime did it earlier.
mm. I think I do have one last question for you, and that is, do you
Please.
see any strategic benefit to the United States uh, if they get involved in this conflict?
Yes, there are a lot. Like consider that a country that people are trying to live like a normal country, no issue with the neighbors, no government that defined on the conflicts, but on the opportunities. So this country, with all the assets of Iran, can be a helpful friend for the United States. And I think the history said that. We had a close friendship. I wasn't there that time, but I heard about it and I studied it. That it was a good relationship ever since United States and Iranian political relationship start until 1979, until this revolution. So what if we come back to that era? We have a lot of opportunities to work. Yeah, there are a lot of strategic opportunities for the United States also to get involved.